Today, we are going to talk about 5 mistakes that all beginner photographers are going to make at some point and how you can avoid them. Some of these I still make now, even though I've been doing it a year. So hopefully it's going to teach me a thing or two as well. Let's do it. Getting into this world of photo and video is really exciting, and it's a creative thing. So most of the time your energy is on the creation and just enjoying it. And that's great, but it can lead sometimes to making some mistakes that you could really do without. And I'm going to talk about them today. Number 1, forgetting something for a shoot. Now this can be a really vital thing, such as your camera, which I hope you'll never do, or even something that isn't as important, but it's still detrimental to your shoot. For example, I go and shoot in a shop for a clothing brand. What we do is we put a backdrop on the floor and put all the clothes on the floor. I have lights and cameras and all these monitors and cables and all sorts of stuff. So I pack all the bags, I get over there, and I realise I forgot the backdrop. Now, how stupid is that? Sometimes you can be conscious of all these things you're going to need, but you'll forget one of the most important things because it's just slipped your mind. It's really important to write down a list of everything that you think you will need, vital and not vital, for that shoot. Things that you can't do that shoot without, and things that will really help you get that done a little bit more efficiently, depending on all the equipment that you have. Always write down a list of this the night before and pack the night before a shoot if you can, because it saves you the hassle of having to rush around on the day, worrying about being late for your client or whatever you're doing, and you're bound to forget something if you're rushing around. So plan the night before, get everything ready. It's going to save you a lot of time and potential embarrassment in front of your client when you've forgotten something that you really need for the shoot. Number 2, now this is actually a mistake I made last week, and it sort of made me think of making this video, and it is not setting your white balance correctly before you start a shoot. Now I shoot with 2 different cameras, and I had one camera set on 4500 Kelvin and I had another camera set on 5500 Kelvin. Now when you're taking the photographs, and I do one for close-up photos and one for the main photo of the clothes, I got into the computer and nothing matched, and I had to recorrect everything in post, and I was about 800 photos to go through. That took me twice as long because I didn't set the white balance on my second camera properly on the day of the shoot. Very, very simple, but never ever forget it because it is so important. You can use automatic white balance in your camera, there's nothing wrong with that. If the conditions are changing throughout the day, you're going to have different white balance anyway. But when you're in a studio setup and you want everything to look the same, set your white balance because it's going to save you a ton of messing around in post afterwards. Number 3. Sort of a similar thing to the white balance, but it's just settings in general, not keeping on top of your settings on a long day shoot. For example, a wedding, if that's something that you may be going to do. If your shoot is over an extended period of time, you need to make sure that you are constantly, well maybe not constantly, but consistently keeping on top of your settings, such as shutter speed, ISO, aperture, because things change over the course of the day, and the different types of photos you want to capture, you're going to need to change the settings. On my Sony a7 III, which I'm shooting with now, I have an auto ISO sort of bracket that I can set. So I can say I want my ISO to automatically move between 100 ISO and a maximum, I don't know, of say 6400 ISO. Because I know that within that range, the worst case that I'm going to get is still an okay looking picture at 6400 ISO. It kind of makes you lazy because you know that you don't really need to slow the shutter speed down, change your aperture. You can just shoot, and the camera's going to do the majority of the work for you. But the amount of times that I've got back and thought, I shot that portrait at 1/500th of a second because I knew the ISO was going to sort it out for me, but now I've got grain in my photo when it was a static shot. I didn't have to do that, and I could have made that shot better. But I wasn't thinking about that because I just knew I had the safety net of the ISO in the back. I wasn't keeping on top of my settings, and it made my photo look, well, not as good as it could have done. Which isn't good for you and it's not good for your clients. Stay active in here with it. Stay on the ball. Keep an eye on your settings. Be moving that shutter speed up and down. They put them in useful places on the camera for a reason, so it's easy and quick to change. Change the aperture, change the shutter speed, keep on top of your ISO. Your photos are going to look so much better if you do, trust me. Number 4. Now these aren't in any particular order, but I actually think this is one of the most important mistakes that a lot of people make and the most common. Buying too much stuff. Now, on this channel you know that I buy stuff, a lot of stuff, and I always have done, and it's a mistake I make and still am making. It's very easy to think that you can become a better photographer if you have X, Y, and Z. I can do this if I have this lens. I can do this if I have this light. Yes, buying tech and buying gear and equipment can help you expand your ability, but it isn't what your ability is based on. That is your skill set. And sometimes having less equipment is going to help you become a better photographer in a much faster way. Don't sit and think, oh, I can't do this job because I don't have this piece of equipment. It's not about that. Photography and video, they're creative. It's about what's in here. It's about how you think you can get the shot. Use your brain. You'll actually start enjoying it loads more as well. You don't want to be going into a photo shoot or something being nervous and worried that you aren't going to get the result because you don't have the equipment. Believe in your own ability. 99% of it comes from the ability within you and the creativity that you have. That is what you get into photography for. That is why we're all doing this. So don't rely too much on gear. I mean, getting new stuff's really nice, and I'm not saying don't treat yourself, but don't rely on it. And don't see it as a way that that's the only chance that you've got of doing a certain job, because it's in you, not in the equipment that you've got. Relatively speaking, you need a camera, you probably need a light, you know, you need the basics. Number 5, doing too much for free. Now, again, I have done this. I still do stuff for free, and there's nothing wrong with doing work for free, especially when you're starting out and you're trying to build a name for yourself. It's actually probably one of the best ways to start getting you noticed by people. But there comes a point where you actually start to believe in yourself and you start to get good at this, and you are of value to that customer. So don't keep giving away all of your ability and all of this stuff for free. Don't undervalue yourself. It's really important that you are fair, but that works in two ways. It has to be fair on the client if you're still new to it, but it has to be fair on you as well. You're putting a lot of effort into this. You've bought all of your cameras, you've got your insurance, you've got your backup drives, you've got lights, you've got travel, you've got all the overheads of running your own business. Yes, when you start out, small businesses don't have a huge budget, but then find stuff that works. For example, I started doing a handful of photos every couple of months for the coffee. Really awesome coffee. He paid a small amount, so it was good for him. I got him some stuff. I chucked a few things for free as well because I had the coffee and I enjoyed it, and then I could post it on my social media just for fun. Grows my business. Working hand in hand with small businesses is really good because it helps them grow, it helps you grow, and you can still get paid, but do a few little favors and you have a really good relationship. As you start to grow, you'll get approached by bigger companies, and then that is when you need to have sat down and thought about how you price your work. But that's another video that we'll get into. This point is just to say, don't do too much for free, because you give value to your customer. So there you have it. There are 5 mistakes that all beginner photographers are probably going to make at some point, if not once, more than that. But I know there are tons and tons more. So let me know in the comments below your mistakes that you've made since you're starting out in photo and video, or anything else, because it's all part of the learning curve and it's good to share that. Don't be shy. If you like the blue light, smash the like button. If you've made mistakes in photography, let me know down below in the comments. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you in a couple of days. Peace!